Happy Thursday. Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center Live Midnight Express edition. Slated to be about anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how many times I get derailed, distracted, or if we end up talking about heavy metal or pro wrestling, that could get extended. So if I stay on course, 45 minutes, an express edition of what we usually do. Setting ourselves up for tomorrow's streams, at least one stream tomorrow. We're going to do our Star Trek Weekly show tomorrow night, roughly around, I think, 8 o'clock. Two more episodes left, and after the season finale, I have some very special guests that'll be on board for our final episode of Star Trek Picard and the entire series, because that'll wrap it up. I really enjoyed this episode, but we'll go into details about that tomorrow. We have our overnighters. We have two overnighters. We have our Saturday, our original, the OG overnighter, Saturday at probably going to be a little bit earlier this time, because I have three special guests, three independent filmmakers. Two of them are local, and one of them is actually a little bit bigger. She's made movies all over the place. We pre-recorded an interview with her today, so I will be loading that up. The internet was going in and out, which pisses me off. So I'm pixelated. Well, she's perfect, but she's who you're going to be watching the interview for anyway. You guys have seen me plenty, and I don't get any prettier or uglier with pixelation. So we got a big show, so it'll probably be like an 8:45, 9 o'clock start time for the Saturday overnighter, and then the Sunday overnighter will be probably around 10 o'clock, and then we'll go a couple hours in, depending on what we did not touch on. But not the biggest news week in the world. Like I said, I was supposed to stream last night, but I was building and doing stuff at the store. So, uh, and then when I came home, I had some stuff I had to bring in, some microphone booms and stuff that I'm adding to this area here, so that once this next couple of days. So let's go ahead and say hi to the chat. Who's in here? Hey, thank you, Sinise. Love you too, man. I watched Mando this week. I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but I did not think this was a very good episode. I actually thought this episode was comically bad. It had some cool guest stars. Obviously, you see some cameos in there from some people, who are big Star Trek or Star Wars fans, and it was kind of cool to see them. But this show, this entire season, and for like the last couple of years now, and that includes Mondo, or not Mondo, the Book of Boba Fett, it just, kind of insults my common sense sometimes with some of the stuff that they do. But all right, how you doing, Aaron? What's going on, Hal? Spider-Man, what's up, dude? Slipknot fan, long time no see. How you doing? You see the Blue Beetle director had his anti-American tweets exposed. Now Now I know I'll be passing on the film. No, I did not see this. Apparently there was a beer can today. One of the beer companies made a rainbow beer can, and that's all that's been on my feed. That's all I've been on my Facebook and in my Instagram. So that's like the big news of the day, I guess. And I don't even know the complete deal about that. I guess it was Coors or somebody. So I haven't seen this other thing yet. I mean, the last time I heard about Blue Beetle being controversial was the whole Batman's a fascist thing, and that was a joke. That's the character. I mean. I still can't believe the things that people get angry over. It's just weird. But I know, fourth, I haven't seen these tweets. I haven't even seen it on my timeline or anything else. So, I mean, even if you deleted them, doesn't somebody probably has them somewhere? So, I've heard from the people we sent that it was fine. The critics didn't like it, but you know how I feel about those guys. I heard it was fun, and if you're into Mario, and I'm not, I guess the more you're into Mario Brothers, the more fun you had. So congratulations on them there. How you doing, Daniel Martin? Did you get a yes? No, I had no chance in hell. I submitted one knowing fully well I had no shot in hell of getting it in, and I as expected, I was rejected. So looks like I'm going to be seeing the Flash with whatever. Actually, I'll probably be seeing it a couple of days earlier because we'll promote it. But I'll be seeing it roughly around the June-ish time that everybody else will see it. But the thing that's going to suck about that is spoilers are going to get out about it. So if there's anything interesting in there, I hope nobody leaks it. But like I said, I could have probably applied and paid for because there has a slot on there for non-NATO members to be there. there's just nothing at CinemaCon that I would want to pay $1,300 with. I mean, just like Top Gun, the only thing I wanted to see at CinemaCon last year was Top Gun Maverick. Or the year before, and it's just they make it expensive because they want to keep out the riffraff like me. So I will be there in June to support it, but like I said, I filled out that press pass knowing fully well I had zero chance in hell of getting in. But you know what? You play the lottery every now and then, you might win something, and I couldn't have heard it to apply. It's, no, I thought she was kind of cool, and then Jack Black, and I mean seeing Doc Brown there I thought was hilarious. I just thought the episode was really bad, and this season's just not getting me. I mean, Mando started off with I couldn't wait to get to each episode. I really struggled to get to this episode of Mando. It's just, and once again, it just defies my common sense. It's like they act like they're not everything that they do is on screen. So when something happens as a result of something else, I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make. Why would I don't know. Uh, Everybody has a bad season. I don't know if I'm going to watch it live next week. I'll watch it, but I've been watching it right as it hits, right, and then because the first couple of seasons, Mondo, that's what you wanted to do, But now it's like it's a mediocre show to me right now. Hello, Music Man. All right, everybody saying hi to each other. I love the original Mario SNES, Super Nintendo games. I heard this has so many references. That's what I heard. I heard, like I said, it's just like a Christmas, a love letter to anybody who loves Mario. So, and you know what? That's who they made it for. Like I said, I'm not a gamer. I have no plans on seeing Mario. There are just certain things I just have no plans on seeing. I'm not going to see Barbie. I have zero interest in seeing things like that. I'm just like, you know what? I don't have to see them. It doesn't add to, it doesn't, I'm not an expert, me giving you my opinion on Mario Brothers basically as a movie would be all right, but they made it for gamers. So, let the gamers have their fun with it. How you doing, Anthony? Fun. What's going on? No, I don't. I don't have time. It really sucks, the very next thing I'm going to is going to be our local Comic Con here, Amazing Comic Con. And that was one of the main reasons if I had gone into the Full Circle event, the Justice League Zack Snyder Full Circle event at the end of the month, I probably would have ended up, even if I didn't, get flushed out of tickets that sold out in 7 minutes, I probably would have ended up having to sell my ticket because the Sunday I was going to go, we have a major thing that's happening that Sunday night, and sandwiched in between other things that were happening, I would have had to get on the plane and come back. All these other things are here locally, and I still don't have time. Like AnimeCon, we have an anime convention here coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm gonna have to actually send someone to represent the Sci-Fi Center because I can't go to that because we got things at the store to get done. So it's just crazy, man. All right, Blue Beetle's director's tweet was an anti-Trump tweet, not anti-American. I haven't seen it either way, so I'll have to review it and see if it's even something we want to even talk about up here. Because, like I said, I try not to get too political on the show because even if I disagree with you politically, I don't want to alienate you and create a place of discomfort that you don't feel you can come here and have a conversation. I can disagree with someone on politically. And still have a pop culture conversation with them. So I try not to delve into those waters because we all need a safe place to come to talk about these things, our geek culture stuff. And there are so many other places online where we can do the other stuff. So, all right, Mario was very good. All right, William, you strike me as a Barbie man. Nah. I don't even go to the Transformer movies anymore. It's just like I just my time is so valuable to me. Even 2 hours a day, it's just I don't. It has to be something I'm really interested in seeing, and I have no interest in seeing Barbie. No one should see Barbie. No one, and it has actors and actors. I like Ryan Gosling and I like Margot Robbie. I can't. That's just not enough for me to go enjoy that movie. Question: what are your thoughts about Vince taking charge of WWE? I think it's going to be a disaster. I think you saw um, some direct results of that. Now, FTR won the tag team titles the other night. They were facing a win the titles, or they had to leave AEW. And even though we found out, we're finding out about the whole Vince thing, we're finding out about the sale and all that. These guys that are in the business, they're hearing these things. They see these things coming. They're in the locker rooms. They're talking to the promoters. They're talking to all these people. They have friends of friends. They're all talking to each other agent wise. So I gotta believe that if FTR was considering it, the sale and the fact that Vince McMahon was going to remain in a high position until they at least hold the vote is probably a turnoff. Another thing is Jay White. Jay White shows up on AEW forever since he lost that loser leaves New Japan match to Hikuleo, that he was going to be that he was going to be signing with WWE. And one of the main reasons why nobody thought it was going to be AEW at the time is because he wouldn't have to leave New Japan to you wouldn't have to have that stipulation, because AEW and Impact will allow you to work with New Japan. So he would have never had to have that stipulation. That stipulation was put in because everybody thought he was going to WWE. Now, he probably had the same hangups with Vince McMahon and a lot of the things that were going on. Either that, or they decided they were going to cut costs to the point where they weren't going to pick up free agents like FTR or Jay White. But in any event, the Vince McMahon situation and the pending sale of WWE, and in my opinion, just this Wrestling Geek's opinion, played a factor in FTR staying put, which I loved, and that match was amazing, and Jay White signing with AEW. Only Barbie movie I'll go see is if they make a horror version. Yeah, like the guys who made Pure Blood and Honey need to make a Barbie movie. Now that I'll go see, but I don't think Mattel will ever allow that to happen anytime soon. All right, Blue Beetle director had both anti-Trump and anti-American. He basically said he hopes Trump presidency ended the same way Lincoln's did. All right, so this will be the last time I address these. I don't condone hurting anybody. I one thing I am 100% against. I don't care who you are, how vile or how happy I am with you politically. We have a process in place, democratic process, and a way to get, if you don't like somebody in his office, you go vote, you go get rid of them. You play a part of the system. The person, no matter how much I dislike a person, the democratic process put them there. And that's the way they need to go. You should never, ever advocate. I don't care who it is. You should ever advocate political violence, because at that point we become a third world thuggish nation that rules by the gunpoint. Whoever has the most guns, whoever has the scariest people rules, and that's just not our system. So I 100%, no matter, and I don't even need to know the details or see anybody's tweets to have this standard. Political violence and political threats are a non-starter with me. So, but that's the last time we're going to do. We're going to address that, because it doesn't have anything to do with. It has something to do with pop culture, but it has the potential to to alienate people. And absence or not, one of these channels is not mine, and I am still representing the Point Extra Lounge, and we want to keep things pop culture wise. All right, Barbie. Let's see. Let's gotta skip over that. What are you most looking forward to out of CyberCon? Just some of the interviews, some of the announcements. I am looking forward to seeing if he has any inside stuff that he's going to share with us in regards to Rebel Moon, as far as maybe a trailer or things like that, because I am looking forward to that. I am looking forward to if there's a Q&A, because I've always had questions I don't want to answer. So even if I'm not going to be there, I hope I get to submit questions, things like that. Finding out things that we didn't know. One of the things about the whole Snyder thing is we pretty much dissected it for the last 5 years. We dissected, what we thought was going to happen, and then when we got the movie, we dissected it. So there's not too much, but seeing people, impromptu interviews, guests, seeing what kind of guests he has in there, but mainly any type of announcement, something that we don't know. I mean, so all the standard stuff is going to be there. Bad BBS. Zack Snyder's Justice League, Man of Steel, those are all going to be played. But if there's any type of announcements that, like, say, for instance, we're going to continue it in a comic book or a graphic novel, things like that, that would make me. I'm looking forward to the things we have not, poured over for the last 5 years. A special announcement or a surprise. That's what I would be looking for. Ray T card, that would be cool. That would be cool. Even if that's the only place we saw it, I mean, that would be cool. Gunn said he won't redo any previous DV stories or adaptation when doing his won't redo any previous DC stories or adaptation. Well, nobody's expecting him to. Now, that doesn't mean that his higher ups, um, you know, they can do whatever they want. Like I said, we brought up a situation where hypothetically, if the Flash pulls in a lot of money, and the non-fans, the people who actually make this stuff happen, which is chairman of the board, stockholders, shareholders, chief shareholders, people like that, decide that it's in the best interest of the company financially to do something with those characters. It doesn't have to be his part of his DCU. You establish the Elseworlds to make that. I don't think it was a very good idea to at the beginning give James the entirety of DCEU yet. If there is some way, that once you, like I said, once you determine what you had and what you could still make money off of, and then make the money off of that, and then as time goes on, his breadth would increase to the point where once you run these financial things out. But right now, you have a revenue generating movie that may generate interest, and it would be, in my opinion, their best interest not to leave that up to him. Let him do his thing, and and just like you're doing with Joker, just like you're doing with the Batman, make money wherever there's money to be made. Especially why he's getting his thing going, because you're talking about something that's right here, already ready to go, versus his thing that's 2 years away. It's gonna meet with resistance, not just from Snyder people, but from the people who have their own versions of these characters in their head. So by the time he gets to full 100% momentum that he would need to get his footing, it's gonna be 3 to 4 year process. By that time, you're still making money. You're not leaving yourself with these big gaps of things to where you don't have the momentum. So, um, I didn't expect him to redo any of that one or adapt. I expect his DCU to be his DCU for the most part, wherever he decides to go forward. But at the same time, Warner Brothers still has bills to pay. They're going to make money anywhere they can, and like I said, if the Flash were to bomb, moot point. But if the Flash does well, and we start Supergirl, Sasha Kai starts trending. Ezra Miller's Flash is trending. Ben Affleck Batman is trending. Fossil Batman is trending. You just can't put that under the bed or sweep that under the rug and move on. That's literally leaving money on the table. So it is going to be interesting to see how this all unfolds and how his position, as far as what Warner Brothers Pictures will allow just to be pushed aside, as opposed to continuing to make money off of. Hopefully, Eric cut announcement. I don't think that would happen there, but it could. Question: in your top rock albums list, where do you rank these 3 albums? From Mars to Sirius, Torture Garden to Silver and Blood. None of those are in mine. The Silver and Blood. That's a tough one. I'm gonna have to get back with you on that one. I have to get back with you on that one. Sorry, Anthony. Will there be a meetup after the event day 3? I heard Film Junkie said that might be possible. Yeah, dude. I haven't seen any details, but I think he's going to be. I don't know if they're all going back to their homes on Sunday night. I'm not sure. I haven't gotten any details other than what they put out during that one. When they had them on the air. Like I said, I know that we're, Sci-Fi Center wise, Pointer Salons wise, we've let them know that we're available if they need help with platforms, but I haven't gotten any details yet, so I don't know. But yeah, it's all a possibility though. Oh, how much Zach has praised to Luke and Abdi in organizing the event? Do you think they might be president for it. Probably not. I once again, that's just a gut feeling. They're busy execs and stuff like that. So, but I don't know the nature of their relationship either. So they could be there, because like I said, if you ever got anything, any other motion picture extension of what it was Zack Snyder was for, it's probably going to go through them, as it should, because it existed before Gunn came on. But that's not pending. I haven't heard anything about any ideas, so I don't expect him to be there, but it's possible. Fourth, Ateca will be doing Ape Ventura Pet Detective with Presidents for 2. Oh no! I hate that movie. I respect the people who love it. That kind of comedy is the kind of shit I'll get up and walk out of, if I even go. Some of the movies that I saw in that era were because I was with a unit or with a group of army people and we had to stay together. Some of the dumbest, like, dude, where's my car? I saw because I was with my unit and I was the NCO, IC of our group. So I got, I got outvoted and we went and saw it. So some of the dumbest movies I've ever seen that I hate, I sat through because I couldn't leave the group I was in charge of. It sucks. But I hate both Ace Ventura movies. Those are the movies that really, Cable Guy, all that. Jim Carrey, unfortunately for Jim Carrey, by the time I saw Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, I had already been soured on Jim Carrey because he just made movies I just didn't like. It just wasn't my thing. So, but to me, his best movie and to this day is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It is his best role. He didn't get nominated for it. I thought that was a crime, but that's just me. What are your thoughts about Secret Invasion trailer? And do you like the leading more into 1970s political thriller aspect of it? Oh yes, I do. I love the trailer and I love the whole cloak and dagger espionage aspect of it. I love that a lot. That's the kind of thing that you didn't get in a comic because that's not the kind of tone that they could convey. The whole who could you trust? It felt more of a Cold War-ish type situation, but this trailer reminds me of a spy movie, like an espionage movie. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't want to see Affleck in Guns Universe. I'd rather just he stay gone. Um, Yeah, I can understand that because the tones don't fit. But once again, I'm going to. People keep trying to shoot this down because they're using fanboy logic and speaking through YouTube goggles. If this movie makes good money and an Academy Award, and I know what Ben Affleck said, I'm done of this. I'm never going to do that again. But you know what? Like I said, like I explained ad nauseum the other night, things change, situations change, people change. And what they say means less and less as the situation underneath them changes course. If he feels good about being Batman again, and he says he comes to David Zaslav and says, you know what, I got 2 Oscars, best movie, nominated for best director. Um, I was one of those big time directors that you said that you were going to make it a point to get back. I got this script here that I've had for a couple of years. Take a look at it and let me know. You know what? Who knows? I don't think we've seen the last of Ben Affleck Batman. I don't have any inside source or anything like that, but I just think momentum is a cure all for a lot of things. And they've already established that they will be doing things outside of James Gunn's universe or James Gunn's core universe. Even if it's James Gunn in charge somehow, the actual projects don't have to intermingle with what he's doing. And once again, before anybody in the chat brings up that'll be too confusing, only if your customer is a dummy. The only way having multiple Batman will confuse anybody is if your viewer or your customer is a dummy. And I don't think they are. I think that I think fans are a lot of different things. Dumb is not one of them. They may be passionate. They may say some ill-advised stuff. They may, act inappropriately sometimes, out of passion. But dumb is not one of the adjectives I would describe people. So if Ben Affleck came to somebody and said, "Hey, I'm Ben Affleck, Academy Award winner. You seen Argo? Hey, I have the script. Take a look at it. Who knows what'll happen?" And that goes for any big multi, big level elite director. I know Scorsese always knocks comic book movies. But I'm just so if Martin Scorsese comes up to you, David Zaslav, say, hey, you remember me, Goodfellas, you know, uh, every great monster movie made me after Godfather. That's me. I got a script here for Blue Beetle. I mean, I'm just throwing stuff out there. Something you think David Zaslav's going to say no, Marty? No. They're going to find a way to make that kind of stuff happen, and that's where DC has the advantage of having established a multiverse 80 years ago, is that they can now use it if a big name director, and it goes both ways. A lot of big name directors don't tackle comic book stories because they don't want to be part of something that is not their vision, and then it works both ways. So who knows, man? All right, let's say that certain parts of the Flash go over well, like Ben Affleck's Batman and Sasha. Supergirl has a good reception. Do you think they'll still do another Flash movie? Yeah. And anybody that tells you they don't, um, I remind them those are the same people that said that they shouldn't make a Joker or that they would make a Joker too. All right, if let's just throw out the $1 billion number, not expectation, but just to say it just does bonkers. It does everything that they wanted to do financially. The top priority of a business is to make money, not to listen to YouTubers, not to listen to Twitter heads that give you a bunch of absolute boneheaded reasons that something can't happen. That's not their job. A CEO, a COO, a chairman of the board, a president of a company, every one of those guys is there to increase the viability and value of their company. So if there's a potential, if Flash does well, and there is a revenue generating potential, they're not going to turn that down. All right. They will find a way to make that money. They are not going to turn that down. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to just destroy whatever James Gunn's doing, but trust me, when you're in business to make money, it's different from a fanboy. We're here to talk to each other on YouTube. We're here to tag each other on Twitter. Nothing we do will ever be on the scale of those guys that are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on things, that have leveraged billions of dollars to buy a company that was in huge amount of debt, almost as much debt as its value. Nothing we do or say means anything when stood up against their obligations. And when you have those type of obligations, your job is to make your company financially stable for your stockholders, for your shareholders, for yourself, your bonuses, everything that's involved in that company. It's all about money. They're not doing these movies for free. They're doing these movies for money. So if one of them makes a lot of money and has a lot of momentum, yes, they will find a way. I don't know exactly what the parameters would be, but you start with the fact that they're in business to make money. That's number one. You start there. All right. Because a lot of us, when we start talking about these things, we start talking about what our opinions are. Or, I don't think this, or they'll never do that. And like I said, I don't care how many followers you have. I don't care if you have 1 million followers. I don't care if you have 12 followers. Your ass ain't sitting on that board, and it's not your money. It's not your shares. It's not your stock options. It's not your bonus. It's not your company. It's not your obligation. So what somebody, including myself on YouTube, tells you, in light of money being made, we mean nothing. All right? Your favorite YouTuber, my favorite YouTuber, in the face of money, if there's a scale, money weighs more than all of that. So it's a very good possibility. That's why I tell people, if you want to affect any type of change or any type of extension of anything, I don't care if it's an inch or a mile, go see the Flash, and if you like it, let everybody know. When rebooting Superman, Zack and Nolan wanted to show an accurate. Okay, I probably meant depiction. I do it all the time. Depiction of how the world will react to being with a godlike power, especially in BVS. We can't go back to. We can't. We can't. And listen, I told you guys, I was at Man's Chinese Theater. I was that kid that marveled at Christopher Reeve's Superman 1 and 2, especially 2, because that's the one I saw. And 6-year-old me was like, this is everything. But even then, that world really didn't exist. The world that Superman and Donner created in the 1980s didn't exist even then. We just weren't as aware of it because we had 3 channels. Cable news network was just one channel. That was CNN. We didn't have the internet. We weren't inundated with everything um, in 1980. So the world, as you look back in retrospect and historically and listen to people who lived those lives, the world was a dark place. We were like seconds away from all nuking each other. I mean, I think Zack Snyder, Watchmen, and the Watchmen that was being written during that time by Alan Moore is a more reflective of what was going on than the campiness that Superman was. So even then, it didn't really sit proper. But since we didn't know, we didn't have to know about the world around us. Now we know whether we want to or not. So in the way we see these things, we weren't as ultra religious. We were religious, but we weren't as overtly as we were now. We in the United States didn't have cult of personality, which is what Superman would sort of end up being, whether he wanted to or not. So yeah, I love the depiction because if we had somebody that could do the things Superman was, he would be split right down the middle. And that's and some of them would think of him as a savior and a god, and the other ones would be like Bruce Wayne and be like, this guy could take a match and blow this whole thing up, and there would be nothing he would do about it. And that was the basis of BVS. So yeah, we can't go back to Donner. We can't even. They tried to go back to Donner in 2006, and to me, it was a disaster, and it wasted what could have been a great Superman in Brandon Routh. Thank goodness he was able to come back and at least put the S back on again and a better showing. But yeah, nostalgia is a dangerous thing. I mean, if it's done wrong, and it's always done wrong with Superman, then yeah, it can be a disaster. But I 100% agree with you, Rational. The Blue Beetle player did nothing for me. DC isn't exciting me anymore. I feel like such a normie now. What do you think needs to change for people to be excited about DC again? A couple of different things. First of all, we need event level movies. And the Flash, whereas the Blue Beetle trailer didn't, it was all right. It was just a basic, like I sort of said the other night, it's basic generic fare. Nothing bad, but nothing like get out of my seat and purchase tickets. Great. But the Flash, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. What DC needed to do the last 5 years to keep people engaged was make event level movies along with the supporting movies. For every three big Superman, Batman, Flash, Aquaman level type tier movies, you have your Blue Beetles, you have your Shazams, you have all that. They needed the organizational momentum that the guys running that show at the time just didn't have. So that helps. Establishing a big event bill, and you need to see more. You need to meet the expectations. You need to meet the expectations. If even if an average customer does not necessarily know the major difference between DC and Marvel, they know who Superman is. They know who Batman is. They know who Wonder Woman is. And it's a simple decision for them. They're going to go see those characters, and they're going to see the people associated with those characters, and they're not going to go see anything below that yet because you haven't established that. So to change that, I think we need to reestablish the main Trinity and those the Trinity minus, like the Green Lanterns and everything else, the Aquamans, all that. That needs to be established, and it needs to be given a big feel to it, like the Flash is. Another thing that they need to do is they need to reinvigorate what's already there. There's so much content that's out there right now that people could be getting excited about that people haven't seen yet because they don't have a lineage to it. And that's why I'm anti-reboot, especially when it comes to DC. I think you should be doing the exact opposite. I think you should be taking inventory of what you have, seeing what appeals to people then. And just because BBS, whatever the BBS did in 2016, whatever feelings about Man of Steel people had in 2013, 2016 is irrelevant now. We are in 2023. We have streaming. We have so many ways to people to re-engage those things. The ones who, you know, weren't on board 7, 8, 9 years ago are now the same people I'm listening to thinking, wow, Zack Snyder, why didn't they release this? So we have we have the ability to re-engage those people that you didn't get the first time around, and you also have the ability to engage a bunch of new people now. I would be using, if I were in power, I would be using my power to take a thread, and I'm going to take that thread and I'm going to tie everything together, and then I'm going to make sure that the any new thing I did propels that, because right now a lot of people don't realize just how good a product DC was. There's been so much white noise with, our fan community, idiot critics, and then other fanboys who thought, like I said, they must have been getting a check from MCU or Disney to pretty much trash DC. We've never had the opportunity to look at DC for the product it is, because we've gotten caught up in all this other BS. So I think that if you saw them regarding the product that they have as something special, you might be excited about what's coming. Why is anybody going to get excited about DC when, as an organization, you've done everything to disengage from the things that brought people to the table in the first place? So I say repair that table and then go forward from there. I hope that wasn't too long or convoluted. So after that story, what's the worst movie that you got drug to as? After that would be Independence Day, the second Independence Day. Resurgence is probably one of the worst science fiction movies I've seen. And that's because it should have been a lot better. That movie was dreadful. I mean, I waited 20 something years to see a sequel to one of the great science fiction movies of all time, and have it followed up by that. Yeah. With those soldiers. Oh, with those soldiers. I think Dumb and Dumber would have been the next one. Yeah, the Dumb and Dumber. Yeah, the original Dumb and Dumber. William, if Gummerstein fails out of the gate, do you think they will use the Flash to clear the border again? No, if Gunn fails out of the Gummerstein fails out of the gate, I think it's going to be a long time before you see anybody engage in DC again. Not saying that it will be forever, but I think the patience is already thin. You're already telling people who spent the last 8 or 9 years engaging your product that there's a possibility that a good portion of what you're doing that they spent that time on might not mean as much. So right there, you're already in really shaky waters. And if this doesn't work, and if they decide, you know what, it's not pulling in the kind of revenue that we need, even if it's good, I think that will be the breaking point for quite a while. I think you're looking at a 5, 6, 7 year hiatus from DC stuff. Because at that point you're talking about the most valuable IP, some of the most valuable IPs Warner Brothers has, not generating a good bulk of the money that they were expecting them to, and I think there would probably be changes all around, and and they wouldn't revisit DC for a while. That's my opinion. Also, with your great love of Ace Ventura, you mentioned, what are your thoughts of his portrayal? I thought his portrayal of Riddler was actually one of the better things that he had done. Now, would I have gone to the movies just to see him play the Riddler? No, but I thought he did well. I thought his performance got a little bit goofy towards the end there, especially his look, but for the most part, I thought he did well. I thought he took his comedic and explosive um, demeanor and used it the best I had seen up to that point in 1995. So, but there was a lot going on in that movie that I liked. Tommy Lee Jones was in that movie. I mean, I love that the Robin costume that they had in that movie was cool. It was just a real. That's actually my favorite of the first three movies. Is Batman Forever. I'm not talking about box office reception, but specifically overall reactions. I don't think critics is going to matter as much. 8, 9 years ago, I would say critics would be, fine, but critics destroy movies for different reasons. See, when it's about it does go back. Even if you're not talking about box office, it does go back to box office, because the box office is going to outweigh the critics. So reactions feel that all the craziness that happened with Ezra before the movie was released tainted it. And I don't even think that's going to be a case. I mean, they don't even care about that, or else they wouldn't be going forward with it as much. And he's in the trailer. He's going to be featured on the press junket. So, people saying, oh, they're not going to have him. Like, no, they're not. They're going to put him right out there. I don't think they care about that. All right, now. And even if they did, once again, if all with even with all of Ezra's stuff, if it pulls in the money, or it either pulls in the money that they want or it doesn't. I don't think. First of all, I don't think Ezra's situation is going to affect the box office at all, not in any degree that we'll be able to notice. And B, they had the decision to, they had the opportunity to address that going, you know, as they came into the company, and they decided to go full force, full steam ahead with the Flash. So no, I don't think that'll matter. I don't think the critic scores are going to matter. The critic scores will matter if the movie's not doing well. But if we get to audience score of 90, a critic score of 50, and makes a billion, nobody's going to care. Every I don't think the Flash is going to get low critic scores though, but that's where that would be with me. My issues with multiple universe stuff is it depletes the brand, it inundates the audience. Telling three stories simultaneously may depreciate the brand, just like Disney did with Star Wars and Marvel. No, Disney didn't do it right. See, the difference between DC and all the ones you just mentioned is DC Comics has always been this way. This isn't DC has always been the strongest when it told multiple stories because of the age of their franchise. They've always been able to maintain that spine throughout generations because they can easily cater to different audiences. Not everybody's gonna like the same Batman, but you're not going to leave that money on the table for the one that doesn't like the one you have up next. It makes no sense. Other people will sing it that way because they think singularly, but DC has never had to. It is literally in their DNA to be able to tell these stories, And I don't think you're inundating it and it doesn't deplete the brand. It is the multiple tellings of these stories are the brand. That is what DC does. They're not stretching something out. That is what they do. So and simultaneously, you probably wouldn't do it simultaneously anyway, simply because you wouldn't want to be advertising and promoting one over the other, simply because you would, not for confusion's sake, but because that would be depleting the brand. But no, if you stagger them, no problem. If you give whatever you're doing from whatever universe you're doing, you give that full front and center, and that is what the spotlight is on. And then once it's run its course, that other thing, you put the spotlight on that. That shouldn't be a problem at all. That shouldn't be a problem at all. It won't depreciate. That is the brand. Being able to tell different stories, either by different versions of characters, different points of view of characters, or from different universes, all is as much part of DC as the words DC or letters DC. So I don't think that'd be a problem at all. I don't see one. And plus, you hire talented people to work all this out. Martin was just mad that he didn't do the Joker. Oh yeah, and the Joker was literally fashioned after Scorsese. That's Taxi Cab and the King of comedy right there. I mean, literally while I was watching that movie, I felt that. So I admit I was surprised when Joker 2 got announced. I guess 1 billion really does have that kind of power, even on a standalone story like the Joker. I was sitting halfway through the Joker, and I knew there was going to be a sequel. They had set the stage, in my opinion, whether he meant to or not. The stage was set for more story to be told, and that should be the number one basis of a. There's two things that are always going to get a sequel made. Obviously, the money, but if there's still a story to tell, if all things are considered equal, if there's still credible story to tell, you continue to tell that story. It shouldn't just be for a cash grab, even though sometimes, a lot of times it is. But with the Joker, like I said, uh, an hour into the movie, I knew there was going to be a sequel. Because there was just too much story to tell, too much development not to leave on the table. I wish they would stop using the rap hip hop songs, DC movie trailers, be original, hire Hans Zimmer. It makes the experience too. It does. Like I said, we're always talking about Kanye. If remember every damn superhero song, or every damn superhero movie was using Kanye power. I'm like, no, stop it. And that was before he went crazy. Somehow I just don't have the confidence in DCU to stay the course without being reactionary to the course of correction. It still feels like they're chasing MCU. I don't know if they're chasing MCU because if you look at the MCU, aside from certain projects, they're meeting with the same mediocrity everybody else was. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Eternals, those, what are they chasing at this point? Um, as far as reactionary, you wouldn't have to worry about the creatives being reactionary, or you do have to worry about the stockholders and the money people being reactionary. And like I will continue to tell you, if David Zaslav had the conversation with these guys to let them know, to lay out the roadmap and to what to expect, what kind of numbers to expect here, realistic numbers, then I think they'll be fine. If he promised them $1 billion receipts right out of the gate with a Superman no one's ever seen before, then that's going to be a problem because then those expectations are crazy. It all depends on what Zaslav set the expectations and what expectations he conveyed to the people he answers to. Unlike in the early, 2013, they came out of the gate with stupid ass expectations and they collapsed under them. If Zaslav did what Tushihara and all these other clowns did not do prior and said, this is going to be where we're at, and it's not $1 billion, we're looking at 400 million here, but we'll build here, and this is what we're looking for. These are the hallmarks of our success here, here, and here, and this is how you'll know we're going where we want to. If he had that conversation with the with the money people, he'll be all right. They'll have the time. But if he didn't, then you're gonna have some issues because I don't think Superman Legacy is gonna come out of the gates bonkers. I think it's going to have the same. I think every Superman for the next 100 years of doing Superman movie is going to have the same problem as anybody who's doing Superman movies in the last 15 years. They have that death grip on their childhood Superman. That Superman is as much part of their childhood as their old teddy bear in the attic. And they see that a new anything of their childhood version something as an affront or an assault on their childhood. That for some reason this new Superman is making what they grew up with less relevant when it's not true at all. But that's how people think in their minds. So that is what you're up against whenever you have a legacy character that has been around 80 plus years. You're up against all that. And that's like an anchor. It just drags you down for a while. But eventually you're able to cut the dead weight. Eventually you're able to prove your point. People see your movie and they get on board. Now, will they get on board quick enough for the board of directors and the shareholders? I don't know. How you doing, Azteca? I love Scorsese's films. If he doesn't like comic book movies, that's fine. He can say whatever he wants. It doesn't bother me. I ain't losing to see me. It's just Scorsese is one of the all-time greats. Well, he's one of the all-time greats, and I could see Scorsese taking a movie and making a comic book movie and putting his stamp on it and saying that's how you do a comic book movie. I could easily see him doing some shit like that. So, I don't completely write off him ever doing a superhero movie. To be honest with you, doesn't the Flash doing well help set up Gunn's universe better? Why would they pivot back against the story about transition, hoping to kick that? Because you're going into an unknown versus a known. People who finance stuff don't like unknown. All right, stock markets, financiers do not like instability. And that latter part you're saying, they're hoping to kick off. Listen, hope and cash don't mix. All right, I hope this goes great and makes us money versus this money I'm making now. No, that logic gets people fired. That logic takes promising careers and and ends them. Narratively, you could be 100% correct. But there is no narrative. There are no movies without the money behind them. All right. There is no James Gunn. There is no Peter Safran. There is none of this. There is no Superman Legacy. There is no Creature Commanders. None of this without the money behind them. So it's all about the money. So the Flash doing well, whether it helps set up Gunn's universe or not, if it's perceived that he may take what has just been very successful for the money people in a direction that might tamper with that. Remember, Clifford the stockholder and Mary the shareholder do not give a fuck about us. They do not care about our opinions as far as that goes. They're going to be looking at that chart, and they're going to get real nervous about any change in that course that makes it so that they can't continue on if this makes money. You know, they're going to look at that golden goose, and they're going to want to. They're going to see anything that messes with that golden goose as some guy with an axe that just wants some goose meat. All right. They're gonna see that, wow, this did well. We're working with the first things out of their mouth. It's just like when I do well with a sale or something at my store. The first thing out of my mind, how can I capitalize on that? How can I continue that? Not let's fuck everything up. If I have the best, month or 2 month stretch of my entire career, the first words out of my mouth aren't going to be, well, wow, let's go ahead and change a different direction. That's just not how money works. That's how us fans, our minds work, but that's not how money works. And there is no fandom. There's nothing for us to watch without the money in the studio. And the studio has to do what makes financial sense for them. The money comes first for these guys. I'm not saying that that's right, but that's the way it's going to work. And whether it sets up Guns Universe is not going to be what they're going to want to hear. You know, they're not going to want to hear that unfamiliar. Maybe they're not going to want to go into that great unknown. They're not going to want to dive into that deep end when they're sitting real cool in that that jacuzzi part that's separated from everything. So the best case scenario, in my opinion, is if the Flash does well, continue what you think you can make money with, and then let James Gunn do his thing. You don't have to. It shouldn't be either or. It should be both and. In my opinion, that's the way I think. I think this is where Warner Brothers would benefit by being greedy. And if you still have faith in James Gunn's whatever, you can go forward with it. You think that can make you some money in the long run? Fine. But if you think you can make money with the momentum that the Flash gives you by using those characters even further, you do that too. All right. You have two hands. They can each carry a bag of money. That's what my opinion is. Arrow was excellent, by the way. I had no idea until after I saw the movie that Ben Affleck directed it. If I were Warner Brothers, I would have done whatever I need to do to keep him special as director. Yeah, he's still out there. He still will work with him. But like I said, this is where if I want Ben Affleck not to go to any other studio or not to ever do a project for me again, because I know him and Matt Damon have his thing now. But that doesn't exclude him from doing legacy projects and things he wants to do. If he ever got if he ever got it into his crowd that before I get too old, or before I get too busy, I want to do this Batman thing. He runs his own production company, so it's not like he has to call a boss. And he calls him up and say, hey, or you know what, Warner, they make their own movies. They're their production companies, but hey, Warner Brothers, we're a distributor. We can help you out there. There's business to be done, and that's what I'm saying. If and if I'm David Zaslav and I want Ben Affleck to make, non-comic book movies for me in the future, I come to him saying, you know what, why don't you take your company, and you hook us up with your first couple of things that you're doing, and we'll distribute them. We'll get behind you. We'll get some fun. We'll do business. And by the way, you know what? Let's take a look at that Batman script you had. They've been doing business this way since the Romans were wearing togas, in the lobby. So, how you doing, Albaster 6531? Question: the two alternative Batman characters I would like to see done for an Hours World movie would be Red Rain Batman, directed by James Mangold, or Red Death Batman, directed by Clint Eastwood. I would like to see Gotham by Gaslight. That was one of the first Elseworld stories that they ever did, and it's the Jack the Ripper storyline. And you know how I love serial killers. So. I don't think you want to alter the course if the Flash does well by getting Affleck back, et cetera, et cetera. That reaction is the same destructive force that ended the DCU. Now DCU fans will be mad. There are no DCU fans, dude. There don't exist. What movies have they had to see? Um, and this the destructive force that ended the DCU is bad management. You know, us fans having our reaction is one thing. The management knowing what to do and how to decipher that reaction was paramount to their success. Them not knowing how to interpret what people wanted one way or another was the destructive force that ended the DCU. Fans have really nothing to do with that. They made the decision to go in their direction, and they're the ones that drove it off the cliff. Yeah, it's. I think Sag and RJ. Think of Sag and RJ and their hashtags for running with God. Yeah, that was I saw that. No, it's fine. Hashtags to me. I my views on hashtags are that at some point they become blind noise. They become once you put a hashtag out there and get rerouted to anybody's purpose. It doesn't get misinterpreted if you're smart. Cash, money. I mean, I could hashtag the hell out of something else. A studio is just going to be like, "Oh, that's cute," if he ever even looked at it. But you know what they do look at? Money. If you're running a company and you're bringing in revenue and people are the people's faith in the stock is jumping and thus increasing the value of the company, they listen to that. All right, I could do a letter. I could do any campaign you want to. All right. And even if it worked to something, whatever hashtag worked to some degree, it will never, and repeat, no hashtag, no hashtag will ever, ever be the force that cashes. All right. If the Flash does well and does buku bucks, no hashtag needed. That is the language that these studios speak in. They don't speak in hashtags. All right. They don't speak in YouTube videos. They don't speak in YouTube opinions. They don't care about any of that. They care about cash. So now and they care about cash associated to risk. Like no cash associated to Black Adam risk because there's nothing you could really follow that up with. Shazam, same thing. Eventually the B-list nature of those characters will truncate any consistency, even if one of the movies made more than it was supposed to. There's not much more you're going to bring in of that. Superman's been making money uh, since before there were TVs and houses. Wonder Woman's been making money since World War II. The Flash, the Green Lantern, all these characters have been Batman. You put Batman on anything. It does, like I said, whether regardless of what you thought about Pattinson Batman, they immediately pretty much started the bank with like 350 to 400 million just by being Batman alone. Now, does that mean it's going to make a billion? No, because you can mismanage that. That BVS wasn't going to make a billion, but the 871 million it made you know was twice of your baseline. So hashtags, listen, they're cute, they're fun. I use them to get the word out about like products. Like if I'm doing something with Star Wars, I'll put hashtag Star Wars. Or if we're doing, First Contact Day, hashtag First Contact Day. Or right now we're promoting, we're giving movies away for Renfield, so hashtag Renfield movie. I use them in that because that's different. That's a trend into itself. But when you're trying to get that is something that causes awareness for the general fan to go see a movie. But what other people are trying to do is they're trying to use hashtags to move executives and people like that. Then that is not the language they speak in. Those people speak in cash, and you can talk to them come June. All right. Doesn't matter what part of the world you're in. Trust me, I've been all over the world. We all speak cash. All right. We don't your hashtags and what you think a studio should do, and all that doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. Cash is king, and if you put enough cash into the Flash, do that. If you enjoy it, tell people, and then sit back and let the decision makers sift through all that, and then we'll see how it goes from there. All right, let's see. All right, if James Gunn's universe doesn't work, like I said, I think it's going to be a long time before anybody will want to be able to put the money that's necessary to make these films great forward with. It's going to be a long, hard conversation if this doesn't, especially if you do a lot of changes to things that did have the opportunity to work. It's nobody's going to want to touch it. It's going to end up. It'll be the next Terminator brand. So many bad decisions were made that eventually people are like, and that's what happened with Terminator. After Terminator 2, after Terminator 3, Genesis and Salvation and so many bad decisions, the brand gets to the point where yeah, it's still there, but nobody's going to want to put the kind of money in. You're going to end up dealing with a bunch of low budget standalones, and as much as people like low budget standalones, period, they don't generate enough excitement or revenue to make them worth it. For a studio, that needs to increase the value of their company, it's great that Joker made 1 billion and that we're getting another one, but it's like 3 to 4 years in between. We're not getting another Batman to what, 2024, 2025? 4 years after the original one was released. That's not the kind of momentum that brings you the kind of revenue that these guys need. And so yeah, if James Gunn's universe doesn't work, I think we're going to have a long, long time before anybody with any money decides they want to put money into backing it again. And it could literally be, and I shit you not, another generation to get this right. So that's why this is so important. William Funback, WB back in 2005 considered the money wasted on Burton's Superman as part of Superman's Return production of budget, basically setting up Superman Returns as a box office failure. Yeah, there's a lot. You hear that. There's a lot of things that led to that. Nostalgia, misplaced nostalgia, led to that. Um, I think Tim Burton's Superman Lives would have been an absolute disaster. I think if had that movie been released, just judging from what I can see and what I hear from the script, what the script was supposed to be, I think that would have been an absolute disaster. Um, and why the reason why Superman didn't fail because of its production budget. Superman's returns failed because it was a Superman that was no longer relevant anymore. You tried to create, a Superman from over a quarter century ago in 2006, and it just wasn't gonna work. So, but yeah, I have heard all that stuff. I think a guy named John Snap did a documentary of the death of Superman Lives, what happened. I think all that's in there too. So it's been a while. I'm starting to burn. Question, William, what are your thoughts about the alternative versions of Superman, or as far as Elseworlds movie and the live action Hyper Zero Superman, or Superman the Dark Side? Superman the Dark Side is something they kind of hit on in the regular canon. Superman Red Sun would probably be the first one that I would tackle. Those other ones are good, but Superman Red Sun, if they were ever going to do it beyond just like continuing with a Cavill type of thing, if they were going to do completely different, I would go with Superman Red Sun. If Guns DC doesn't work, DC needs to disappear from live action and focus on animation for like 10 years. They're not going to do anything animation wise because animation doesn't make any money. I think what you're going to see is they're just going to stay away from DC in general, which will be sad because I think that will hurt the brand. But if Gunn fails after they basically swept everything else away, they cleared what could potentially make something for them, and they said, "Nope, we're starting over," and he fails. I think the exhaustion and the skepticism will be too heavy for the next 5 to 10 years to do anything meaningful with DC. And in animation's a non-starter because they're not going to do it because it doesn't it's not a draw. It's not the draw that you're not going to get people to to pay that type of money in the box office, and apparently they don't think it means as much as their streaming service too because they farm it out. So now, if James Gunn's universe fails, and I'm not advocating or wishing for it, but the reality is, it's if it doesn't do well, I think you're just going to see a lot of people shy away from the DC product, both the corporate end and the fan end. I'm getting Ryan Johnson vibes with Gunn trolling the audience or a potential audience on Twitter. Someone tweeted, "I miss Henry." Gunn says he's still alive. Just a major turnoff to me. I said this before. I've always wanted somebody that engages with the fans, but I just personally I want it to be done like on a formal setting, to where he can shut a lot of things down. I'm not going to tell him to stop engaging with the fans, but we all know when you hang on everyone's word, and right now everybody's hanging on his word, so I don't think there's a win situation for him. Things like that he said could be misconstrued, turned around. I just say, dude, and cut that in half, and every Wednesday have a show. You're sitting there with James. You're sitting there with Jim Lee. You're there, and you're sitting there with whoever the main pillars of your content are, and you've seen all the Twitter, you've seen all the stuff leading up to that week, and you just you take 10 minutes to dispel a lot of things. I've been hearing about this going around, but I'm here to tell you that this isn't true. This is the direction we're going. Did we talk to so and so? Yeah, but we're not ready to do this yet. So if you heard anywhere that we're on the verge of anything, nah, I'm here to tell you that not. And then you hand it around the room to Jim Lee. You do that on a weekly basis, you can cut down this engagement, because I know he means well, but there are some assholes out there that are just going to pick a fight. And it's not a good look when the CEO of a studio is picking a fight with a knucklehead fanboy, you know, or when you have somebody who wants to hear a particular answer is going to take his answer anywhere they want to. I don't think that's good for anybody involved. So yeah. What if James Gunn's okay? Universe doesn't work. Funny how people know the possibility of DCU being successful and go straight for what if it fails, because it's the unknown, and they are right. The odds of his DCU successful are not in his favor. So that is the reason why you hear a lot of people say that, including people even on a higher level, because A, it's the uncertainty, we don't know, and B, the odds of what he's doing, just by given the nature of what he's doing, the odds are against him. And I've already explained both on every show that I've been on that I give it 40-60, which is good odds, by the way. But right now, where we're standing now, from what I'm hearing, where we're at, and the attitude that people have towards DC right now, the gap in time of 2 years where there's no momentum going, and they are right. There is a possibility. I'm not going to ignore the possibility of DCU being successful. 40% is high odds. It has a chance, and depending on how they conduct themselves and how they market this stuff, those things are increased. So if you hear a kick-ass casting, okay, now it's starting to increase. Or you hear, that there's some connection to, I mean, there's a lot of things that could bring it up to the 50, 60, 70. It's just not there right now, in my opinion. And everyone who speculates what if DCU fails, is if that's an accurate concern. That's a logical concern. Whenever you go into the unknown, and you start over, first of all, that's your first thing that hurts you. At some point, people get tired of starting over or having what they bought into rendered irrelevant. So depending on how much he renders irrelevant will determine what kind of fan base he has. It's not a given that just see. I think people misconstrue new with being better, with starting over, with going in the right direction. You just assume that because something is new that it's going to be successful. That's almost as silly as being 100% saying that it's not. But right now, where we sit with DC films and their history and the weight and the time and all those factors, the odds aren't in their favor, in my opinion. And for anybody who you know is skeptical whether they ever will be, That what if James Gunn's universe doesn't work is a very legitimate question. It should be one of the very first questions because of the ramifications of it not working are literally a generation of these movies just being wasted. The ones you had coming that we never got resolution to, and then the ones he's going to make. You're literally going to lose a generation of live action fans because there's not going to be anything for them to watch. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. When you take this type of leap into this type of uncertainty, that is going to be top of mind for people. What if this universe fails? And it is a very logical question to ask. I don't think they can do animation for. I don't think, like I said, I don't think they're going to delve into animation. I think they were happy enough to be able to sell it to a buyer and be out of it. And Independence Day is not that great. The movie should cut right to the titles and the aliens blow up major cities. You know what? Fourth. Ah, my goodness. I'm not even going to. Ugh, should time you out for that. Their animation is cool. It's faltering a bit as of late, but they should only do that. Nobody's watching it. Nobody's watching it. Everybody who thinks that everybody's watching animation is the only people who think that are the people watching it, but they don't have the numbers to justify its production cost. They don't have the numbers to justify if they got legacy contracts with voice actors and unions and stuff like that. The amount of people watching DC animation, no matter how good it is not enough to justify its cost unless you have a buyer for it. Now, if you have a buyer for these things, that's fine. But at this point, from here on out, I think they're going to want buyers for this content before they even greenlight it. Otherwise, you're going to have an Amazon lined up. You're going to have a Netflix or a Peacock lined up before they spend that money. That's why they got rid of a lot of their animation and they farmed out everything else. I just don't think that somebody should have shut down that division of DC 20 years ago. And they didn't out of sentimentality. A lot of the people that worked in it kept it alive. And, a lot of the people who were running the shows for the last 15, 20 years were listening to a certain portion of the fan base that loves these things. And I'm not knocking you guys, but pure dollars and cents, there was probably never a real justification for continuing on with them. Sell rights to someone else. And if Amazon wants to do it, let Amazon do it. You guys be the executive producer. But when you're trying to dig out of a hole that a lot of these decisions put you in, you don't need to really dig any deeper. Put the shovel down. This past Monday, I've just watched Captain Marvel. It wasn't that bad. I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was great. It wasn't worth the money I paid. And I like Brie Larson. I like Samuel L. Jackson. I love the Scrolls. The Scrolls are some of my favorite Marvel Universe movies. But it was a bland movie that made a lot of money because where it was positioned. Get them mods. What's going on? Am I missing something? Yeah. Oh wow, I'm really behind. Let me speed up here. William, you're saying the box office matters, but what happens to the fan reaction on Rotten Tomatoes or these other websites around 55%? Does the box office still matter? Yeah, yeah, because those reactions don't pay for anything. That money does. That money justifies going forward. I don't see the member chat on here, but I'm gonna go ahead and bring it up on my other screen because I don't know how to do it on here. Monkey Genius member for 2 months. Grace Randolph is a goon. Super Mario rules. William is old. You and this old thing. I don't watch Grace Randolph anymore. Um, yeah, if you enjoyed Super Mario, great. I mean, there's a lot of people I know that did. Um, I'm just not a guy who engages in those. I mean, like I said, I'm not a video game guy. So, all right, let's see. Flash screen. Oh, okay. No, we don't need to. I'm out, people. Peace. You don't have to leave. You just got here. If you're gonna use any Kanye song, use Diamonds of Sierra Leone. I mean, it's been used less than Power, that's for sure. John Wick 4 trailer has nah, got yourself in it, got yourself a gun. Yeah, but that trailer, but see how it was used, and I didn't see John Wick 4 yet. I sent a bunch of people to go see it, I think. But I don't. Is that song in there, or is it just trailer bait? William, I agree wholeheartedly about the death grip of the new Superman movie versus audience being accustomed to new and old iteration. Yeah, it's just something you have to deal with, and whoever takes up the mantle, no matter who it is, when it is going to have to come to that reality that you are going up. You're like a salmon going upstream. It's just going to be it's just what it is. And if you're not willing to take that on, then don't take the challenge. But don't get in there and start, peeing in your pants when you realize what a task it is. And that's what happened with the last guys. Goose meat, that's a good one. Yeah, yeah. Don't go for the goose meat. Meat is not worth as much as gold. Keep those golden eggs going, and then like the Flash could be a revenue generator for them. So we gotta wait and see. William, what are your thoughts about the reports coming from CNBC and Forbes that Apple might be thinking of buying not just Disney's entertainment vision, but also its theme parks? Apple's a $1 trillion company. They can afford to do it. I mean, so the math there, it works. They definitely can afford to do it. Now, Apple's huge. Apple's a massive company with a lot of cash. Apple and Amazon are massive. I don't know if Apple wants to get into the theme park business. That would be the only thing stopping them, but they definitely have the money to get into it. And it wouldn't be a monopoly thing because they're a tech company. So I don't know, man. I mean, that's I don't know. It would all depend on if Apple wants to get into the theme park business, because remember, the theme parks is where the money's at. The money for Disney is not in Disney movies. It's not in any of this other stuff. The money, the 37 to 38 billion annually that Disney Parks will is where that's their cash cow. That's how Chapek even got his job, because he had done, or was perceived at the time to have been doing a good job with that, and it was basically a promotion. So Monkey Jeebus, Justice League or whatever else is diluting. It's diluting the brand that you are trying to move away from. Whoever would you profit because of licensing? Oh, first of all, you have to be smart enough not to move away from it, and that's you know what, that is actually the core of the problem. Why are we moving away from any of this stuff? Where has that helped them? In the last 5 to 7 years under Hamada, where has moving away from their most visible IPs helped them? First of all, you didn't even know why you were doing it. Who the hell were you listening to? The only person you should have been listening to when it came to the direction you were going to is your accountant. And the only thing you really need to be asking them about BBS was, did it make more than the last one we did? And if the answer is yes, then you keep going. Why were we that's the biggest problem that they had right there. Why were we moving away from that in the first place? For someone's stupid ass misconception that it wasn't working? Someone who couldn't count? Someone who skipped math class? We were listening to those people? And if the Flash makes good money, then that should expose the stupidity of trying to move away. Because what were they moving to? We moved from Superman to Polka Dot Man. We moved from Ben Affleck's Batman to Deadshot to Peacemaker. We moved from Wonder Woman to Huntress. Is that why were we moving away from that? You had no plan on what to move to, so the stupidity of moving away from anything should be the first thing that needs to be addressed. That was the original sin. So, and whoever wouldn't profit from, we don't know that. You're basing things on how things have been mismanaged. You're basing things on how what Tishihara, Hamada, Sarnoff, and Emrak did. Why don't we compare to situations that were done right, even if it's with other companies? Just because something was tried wrong and half-assed doesn't mean that something can't be succeeded at if it's done right. I don't judge whether I can get something done in the future by someone else's stupid ass inability to do it right. I judge it on my own vision and math. And that's what they needed to do. Trying to please everyone is a start of failure. Well, that started back in 2013. You're not going to please everybody. You can't. You're 100% right. But you start with your math and your money. If I know that I'm pulling in, if at the end of the day, regards to how I got there, 108 or 871 million, an increase from the 678 million that I did with these characters before. I don't give a rat's ass about pleasing everybody. I give a rat's ass about focusing on and capitalizing on the people who increased my box office over those two movies. I'm sorry that we can't please the guys who didn't like it. We put out a movie, and we understand all film is subjective. You didn't like it, all right. And if we can get around, if we can bring you on board at some point, we find an opportunity to make adjustments. We can do that. But right now, the majority of my brain power is going towards the people that we did hit it with, and making our adjustments. And even amongst those people who made you a lot of money, you could still improve amongst them. There may be things that they didn't like about it, but you make your adjustments based on that poll, not on this one. So yeah, you're right. Shopping proverbs. All right, Daniel Martin, thank you for the $10 super chat. How can The Rock block Shazam 2 from using JSA in the post-credit scene? Does a production company really have that much pull over the company or that owns the characters? He negotiated that into his deal for making the movie. Every film contract is a negotiation, and there's certain things like there's like nudity clauses or something like that, or stunt clauses, or whether I do my own stunts, or whether you provide you know certain things like uh Lena Headley, the guy who played uh Sir Braun in Game of Thrones. They had a relationship that ended poorly. She had it in her contract that she filmed no scenes with him, even though they were on the same show in the same episodes. She had it written in, or she let people know in her negotiations that she didn't want to do any scenes that involved him because they had such a bad relationship. That's what I heard. But you hear stuff getting, negotiated all the time. And if he negotiated that into his contract, then that's why he would have that power. Now, the grown up in the room should have said no. And see, everything that The Rock got, he negotiated into his contract. But you know what negotiations take? Two sides. I don't blame The Rock for asking for it. I blame the person who said yes. So yeah, that's how you do it, is negotiations into the contract. He doesn't own. He doesn't even own. I think the distributor may own. He may be executive producer on those versions of the characters, but they own those characters. Bob Iger believes in hashtag. Yeah, he doesn't care about money. Oh, Bob cares about money. Even if Bob himself is an ideologue, the people who own that board care about money. It just he may be passionate about but Bob Iger. I'm not going into the news and politics right now, but Bob Iger can take a stand. But Bob Iger also cares about money as well. He has to. He's responsible for a whole lot of people's cash. All right, Daniel Martin says, "Damn, too has bigger things than whatever The Rock may or may be doing." Yeah, it has bigger problems. One of them is the fact that it's Shazam. And like I said, I love the movie. I love both movies. I love the character, but it just wasn't a movie that should have been made right now. Wasn't a movie that should have been released. Same thing with the Suicide Squad. We have a lot of stuff out there that just got released and hurt. That's what hurt the brand, is releasing these IPs and these movies that people just weren't ready, didn't care about, and not using your main pantheon to get people to care about those characters. So yeah, I won't. I could agree there too. It had the feel of a '90s movie. Okay, How you doing, Tehran? All right, so I am at 125, or hour and 25 minutes, so I'm gonna have to. Yeah, yeah. And without going into the details, it looks like Disney's lawyers totally outmaneuvered the Florida governor on this. And without picking a side, um, I think Disney's the largest employer in Florida. Might not want to mess with that, but uh, yeah, yeah, and everything that came afterward. Them moving away from what got them increasing box office and listening to the wrong people is what hurt the brand. And then Justice League did a lot of damage to the brand. We kept Zack Snyder's Justice League away from people and called those people all kinds of names, but the Justice League you did release was the one that did the damage, not us. So I'm a busy guy, man. Come on, give me a break. All right, guys. Universal's gonna kill Disney with the parks and Super Mario and Nintendo Land. Not anytime soon. Not anytime in our lifetime. I mean, Universal's doing great with their parks, but you got to realize what an absolute giant Disney parks are. I mean, what's the annual revenue of Universal Parks? Universal Parks annual revenue. All right, so Universal's theme parks posted a revenue, according to a theme park insider and Forbes, pulled in a revenue of 7.5 billion in 2022, which is really good. That's double what they were over the year prior because of COVID. Was revenue up, 12% to 2.1 billion in the fourth quarter of the year. That's amazing. That's good. Disney pulled in 37.5 billion last year. So I don't think they're going to get destroyed. Universal will continue to grow, and who knows? At some point, they may compete with Disney parks. But wow, dude, you got a lot. You got literally $30 billion annually to make up. I don't know if that's happening anytime soon. Let's see. Oh, listen, Aquaman. A lot of what happened with Aquaman. Once you know what I say about the MILF magnet, he helped tremendously. Um, but remember, that's probably the one benefit that I think. I mean, I can't remember when they were all released, but yeah, because I think the benefit of Justice League was the fact that it got Jason Momoa out there and it got those characters out there. It didn't do anything for the universe because they destroyed it, but it got because when people go see a lot of people who go see Aquaman weren't going to see it because it was a godfather of superhero movies. They were going to see it because the look and feel appealed to them, and those milfs love Jason Momoa. They love him, and that's why when people tell me, "Oh, Aquaman 2 is in trouble," till Jason Momoa tears off his shirt and goes swimming in the water, and yeah, then it's in trouble till then. I think it'll just fine. And you still had the two. Even if you had an illegitimate Justice League in there, you also had two legitimate movies that he was in BVS. So yeah, I think there's the reason why Aquaman's success is all over the place is because there were so many reasons why it was, and people thought, well, that's the tone we need to take as Aquaman's. I think no, that's the tone you need for Aquaman. But when Aquaman's standing toe to toe with Justice League, you need to make you need to make that tone appropriate. Yeah, a lot of people were. Plus, it did well in China. It was a non-controversial, I mean, other than environmental wise, but non-controversial thing that you could put in China. One of the last ones you could. Yeah, I sent a bunch of people to John Wick. I even gave away coins and T-shirts and stuff, but I didn't get a chance to go. All right. Let's see. just making sure that I get all the relevant questions out of the way before I blow things out. They want all the Momoa. The MILFs don't want some Momoa. They want all of Momoa. The MILFs aren't going to turn down more Momoa. Right? If Henry, could you imagine if Jason Momoa instead of Henry Cavill was the one making the computer? Remember when they said, "I think I just got pregnant watching Henry Cavill build his PC gaming tower"? What if it's just Jason Momoa cooking or doing something? That'll show you just how successful he is. Yeah, because you made a movie based on something that didn't even break what 370, 376. I mean, there wasn't a lot of people that went to see the first one. So you what were you building on? That's what I mean by bad decision making. Yeah, I could make a live stream right now. If and I tell Jason, if I was Jason Momoa, just peel potato, take your shirt off and peel potatoes. You know how many likes that would get? You know how many people would be watching that? You'd be able to monetize within 10 minutes. Just peel potatoes, Jason, with your shirt off. All right. Okay. Yeah, he's very marketable in that way. That way. Yeah, I am too busy eating at Kim's. Almost lost it. Got some catfish and loaded fries. I'm just right now. It's just a time I'm trying to get a lot of stuff done so that I can improve things. And there's only certain windows of time I can get it done. So getting to the movies, like Renfield, I'm giving away tickets to Renfield. I can't go to that, and that's the first Nicolas Cage movie I've wanted to see in quite a while. Uh, Plus, looking back at the film, he is the best thing that version of him. Yeah, he is. Actually, I can't disagree with that. You know, the interpretation of Aquaman probably was probably the most untouched version, unscrewed version of that version. So destroyed everything else in its wake. But you know, the MILF magnets weren't. The MILF magnets weren't hashtagging release the Snyder Cut. The MILFs were hashtag give me more Jason Momoa. You know, hashtag what? Aquaman, you're in. Ooh, wow. Hashtag my imaginary husband. That they didn't care about all the stuff we cared about. Same thing about when I remember watching when I was in news groups and stuff back in the mid 2000s when he was on Stargate Atlantis, Ronan Dex. I swear he made up for a good 25% of that show's ratings because that's all the female. You know, I'm not saying females or sex fiends or something like that, but all the comment. Oh, I just want more Jason. I'm like, I mean, they gave him more. I'm surprised his career had such a slow start in the beginning after that because it wasn't until Game of Thrones when he played Kyle Dargo that really people because that was such a large scare. Once he was on Game of Thrones, man, even more of the MILFs were like, oh my goodness. And when they killed, spoiler alert, it's been 10 years. When they killed his character off, man, you think you want to deal with some crazy people. Someone clipped that out of context. Dude, what happened? I said you couldn't clip out of context. All right, let's see. All right, you overestimate Momoa's sickness. Says, okay, I'm a guy. I'm not overestimating his Conan movie flopped, starring him. Let's see. Okay, let's start out with the fact that Conan movie should have made nothing. How much did it make? Let's look, because whatever it made, it was because of his MILF ability. All right, Conan. Let's see. Wow, film. 2018. Wow, it's been 5 years. All right. It doesn't even give you the budget for this. Oh no, that's Con Man. I'm sorry, dude. I hate this typo. Oh man, 2011. Let's see. Okay, it was released in 2011, but this is pre this is right as he was getting back on Game of Thrones. So, in all fairness, this was released at a time where he was Jason Momoa, but he wasn't post Game of Thrones Jason at this type of level. So let's see. All right, on a budget of 90 million, pretty cheap. It lost about 30 million, but trust me, this movie, and I saw this movie. This movie was horrible. This movie was horrible. It should have made no money. It made $63 million. All right, fourth. Um, guess what? I'm just gonna guess what percentage of that 63 million were his devotees of the female gender. I'm just gonna guess. And any money, just like Black Adam. Black Adam. If you take anybody else but Dwayne The Rock Johnson in Black Adam, that movie makes no money. It was a bomb with him in it, but you take him out of it, it makes no money. Conan was 2011. It wasn't quite mega MILF Magnet. This was like low power. I mean, he had his following. Post Kyle Drago, he's like, you know, on the most watched cable television series of all time. One of them, you get to see him. Granted, he's doing some awful things in that show up to a certain point. Sorry, Khaleesi, but yeah. I mean, that was quite a while now. I mean, if they were to put Conan the Barbarian out right now, and it was an awful movie, they would have put that movie out right, re-released that in theaters right now, or would have they would have just made it right now? The milfs would eat him up because he's half naked in that entire movie. They would eat that up. You know, today's Jason Momoa following. I don't think I overestimated. First of all, you're gonna clip this, so listen. I'm straight as an arrow. Everybody has their thing. I am not judging Jason Momoa's sexiness. I'm just looking at it through the eyes of the people that go crazy over this guy. All right. Yeah, yeah. A lot of there's a lot of I'm not gonna name any on there because I don't want to coming after me. But there's a lot of actors and actresses that look really good and get roles because they have a certain look. They have a certain appeal that's been in Hollywood since the 30s. It's the beard, yeah. Only other person it supposedly worked with was Matthew McConaughey. Every time he took his shirt off, high box office. Hey, man. I mean, if I'm trying to make money, I got to do what makes me money. You know, and if I'm making money with if I'm trying to reach the female demographic, Jason Momoa, I know the role doesn't call for you to take your shirt. I know what you're working in an office as a mail clerk. Why don't you take your shirt off? Because I need this movie to make money. And you know what? Not only do it, Jason, I know you're the mail clerk, and I need you to take your shirt off because I need that mail money. I'm putting that shirtless picture and that trailer in the trailer, so the audience knows you're in that movie without a shirt on, just like they did in uh, Justice League when you saw him without a shirt in Aquaman. I mean, and not just American, global milf, global milf. We're talking Europe is milf. We're talking Asia milf. They're all looking at him. All right, he has global milf ability. Once again, that was in 2011. He wasn't godlike level Momoa at that point. Hell, I don't even think he has as many tattoos as he has now. Once again, Jeeves, not to say forth. If you were to release that god awful movie today, I swear it would make a lot more money. All right, Minecraft. Minecraft has all the things you say needed for a box office success, Momoa and brand recognition. So I gotta know how much you think it will make. Well, seeing how I think Momoa's the money that Momoa makes is based off of attraction and sex appeal. I don't know, man. I mean, I Minecraft has a better shot because of brand recognition. Because I know with Minecraft, I don't play Minecraft. I know exactly when I see Minecraft, it's instantly recognizable to me. And I don't play games, and I've never played it before in my life. but everybody knows what Minecraft is. I can't tell you what it would make. I'm really bad when it comes to video game movies. Yeah, man. If you put some dollar, that equals dollar signs. Monkey Jeep is correct. Well, once again, guys, 2011 non Game of Thrones memo. Game of Thrones changed the game. He was out there before Game of Thrones, but he wasn't. He admittedly wasn't doing enough, and Game of Thrones saved his career and kept him in acting. And from that point, that's where it skyrocketed. So Conan the Barbarian was at around the time where he was barely. In fact, he wasn't even. He was in very little. He was in the first season of Game of Thrones, but that was his big break. Conan was really, ugh, it's an awful movie. That's a really bad movie. And like I said, this was released in August of 2011. So this was 1 year. This was like he was on a couple episodes of Game of Thrones, but then remember, um, it was after right around then when people started, getting into Game of Thrones. Because if you remember, Game of Thrones started off kind of slow, but this is right around his explosion peak. So you can't really say that nobody was paying attention to Game of Thrones. He wasn't that kind of name yet. I don't know who was. I saw Conan in the movies, and I thought it was really bad. I mean, I listen. Arnold Schwarzenegger isn't the Laurence Olivier of acting, but that dated version of Conan, even the second Conan the Destroyer, which is a wretched movie, was light years better than that movie. Was awful. I think he did. Yep. Okay. How do we truly know it was only MILFs that helped make Aquaman? But I know I didn't say only. I didn't say only. A lot of people liked Aquaman, but I'm gonna guess that it was a good. Your leading man looks like that. Might get a couple of repeat views, and guess who they're taking with them? They got the kids. Hey, kids, let's go see Aquaman for the fourth time. But mom, we already saw it. Nah, didn't you like it the first three times? So we're not talking about one person now. We're talking about them and the kids, whether they wanted to see it or not. You're going with mom to the movies. She ain't gonna pay for a babysitter while you know. Uh, that is fourth 1,000, ladies and gentlemen. That is not the Sci-Fi Center or the Poindexter Lounge. The views and the views and opinions of fourth 1,000, much like his avatar, do not represent the views and opinions of uh of the Sci-Fi Center. Global, global milfs. That and Daniel Martin. Don't be canceling me. Sydney Sweeney from Euphoria can't keep doing all the heavy lifting. That show is very depressing, man. I couldn't finish Euphoria. It just felt so just dirty. I mean, it was just one of the most. It sapped all the hope out of me. I'm like, damn. Yes, yes. I hope to hear more news on that. All right, guys. I think that's it. Keep in mind, the Minecraft movie is live action. I think Minecraft. I think Minecraft. How much did they spend on it too? I guess I got that. Because I'm assuming even though it's live action, there'll be a lot of visual effects, but I don't know what the budget is. Fourth 1,000. All right, that's what fourth 1,000 said. I don't want to get no hashtags against the Poindexter Lounge or the Sci-Fi Center. Fourth 1,000. Remember. All right, guys. That was fun. All right. Well, hey, Midnight Express once again supposed to last 45 minutes. Here we are, 1 hour 45 minutes in. I have failed again, but it was fun. As long as the conversation keeps going on, I have no problem with going to it. But now I'm going to reheat my food because I should have ate it an hour ago, and I'm uh going to take some Benadryl and go to bed. Um, please like and subscribe to Poindexter Lounge, and put a like in here for good old Enosh. And go over to youtube.com at the Sci-Fi Center and like and subscribe there if you haven't already. We all appreciate the support. We thank you on behalf of the Poindexter Lounge for any super chats you guys put in. Every bit helps people around here. So thank you. And we will see you tomorrow night, probably around 8 p.m. For the Star Trek Weekly Show with me, Brian, Thade, Stella. We're going to be talking Star Trek. I love this episode. I know a lot of people had some issues with it. I had fun with it. I'm having fun with this series. There were some key moments in there that I want to go over. Might stream again later on in the evening, but for sure we're going to have our overnighter. I have three. I know you guys. I've been getting a lot of good feedback, both on the comments and on my messages about the independent filmmakers and what you guys like to hear from them. So I think those people who love that are going to love this show because we got three of them coming up on various different budgets and influences. So all right, guys, I am going to hit the sack after I eat this catfish mixed with loaded fries, give myself heartburn, and then go to bed. See if I can sleep it off. See you later.